Ladies and gentlemen, I have a personal favorite at our national meetings. The personal favorite for me is the lightning round. We get 7 interesting people who have compelling ideas and do compelling work and are compelling people, and they do it all in less than 7 minutes. Preferably today, closer to 6, but I realize you can't change your presentation at this late date. But the bottom line is this is rapid fire, and who better to introduce the rapid fire presentation than somebody who is Mr. Rapid Fire himself. If you've ever met Brian Boyle, the founder and the CEO of Issue Media Group, you know what I mean. He is, to me, the epitome of what urban innovation is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Boyle.
Lee, that was incredibly brief. Really quick, a little context of what we do. This may seem a bit self-serving because it is. I'm also kind of hopeful that it's helpful. If you get an opportunity to go to rapidgrowthmedia.com, you'll get a sense of what we do as an organization to kind of on a regular basis showcase innovation and creativity in the context of place, in this case, Grand Rapids. So we built a national media model on capturing the stories of innovators changing cities. So I want to thank Lee for helping us curate a number of innovators here today and making our job a lot easier. When I agreed to moderate this panel and lead this discussion, I was assured that there would be no more than 6 people on the panel. It has morphed into 8 people, which is unmanageable. If this does not go well, thank Lee for this panel getting out of control. In the spirit of rapid fire, I'm going to do very brief introductions. The order that I'm going to do introductions is going to be the same order that people are going to present. Again, these are going to be 7 presentations of 6 minutes from 7 cities across the country that we hope will inspire you. First up will be Meg Fitz from Des Moines. She is the Senior Vice President and Regional Business Development for Greater Des Moines Partnership. She's going to talk about a transformational roadmap to Des Moines' future. Second up will be my dear friend Phil Cooley from Detroit. Phil is a developer and founder of Ponyride and is really leading a lot of this amazing grassroots transformation that's happening in the city of Detroit today. If you get an opportunity to come to Detroit, there's some really, really special things that are happening. Ponyride will allow you to flop there for as long as you'd like, and Phil's leading some really, really great work. He's going to talk about really kind of how to give voice to kind of some relevant organizations that have tremendous capacity and unleashing kind of social impact in communities. After Phil will be Erin Flynn from Portland. Erin is the Associate Vice President for Research and Strategic Partnerships at Portland State University. Erin's going to discuss city-university partnerships driving urban sustainability and something called creating a living laboratory. We'll see how that goes. Next up will be from Cleveland, Karen Gahl-Mills. She is Executive Director of Cuyahoga Arts and Culture. She's going to talk about how public funds for arts and culture strengthen both artists and communities. Following Erin from Cincinnati will be Tim Maloney. Tim is the President and CEO of the Haile U.S. Bank Foundation, doing some really, really innovative kind of small-scale project work in Cincinnati. And Dan Reynolds, the Creative Director from Landor Associates. They will both, this is now 9 presenters, discuss harnessing the power of arts to inspire and transform communities. Following them will be Chris Muller from Grand Rapids. Chris is the founder and president of M Retail Solutions. He's going to talk about Grand Rapids Whitewater, putting the rapids back in grand. I like it. Last, from San Jose, will be Jessica Zenk. She is the Senior Director for Transportation from the Silicon Valley Leadership Group. Jessica will discuss the intersection of arts and transportation and creating urban mobility. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to welcome to the stage Meg Fitz.
Thanks. Well, we're in big trouble because Lee told me I had 20 minutes, no, but just kidding. Latest regional vision plan for Central Iowa. Regional vision plans aren't anything new, but that is within the context that I'm going to share our topics today. And it's a holistic approach looking at how we take our 9-county area to the next level. And we're looking at everything from infrastructure to interceptions in poverty. We have a team of about 400 volunteers, committee members carrying this work forward. So we're really excited about that momentum. In honor of the good work that CEOs for Cities does, I'm calling my first touch point here the health dividend. It's no secret that we have an aging population. We also have an increasingly unhealthy and obese population, and we throw trillions of dollars at this year after year after year. And in Iowa, we did the math. So what if we could have everyone in Iowa live a slightly healthier, active lifestyle? Just being more active and not being a couch potato is $1.6 billion in recouped medical costs by alleviating those issues that arise from that lifestyle. That's true of these other 8 behaviors that you see on the screen here that are all things within our control. You can't blame your genes or Mother Nature on any of these things. These are things that we can change. So the cumulative total, if we could move the dime on all of these, would be recouping $11.5 billion for the state of Iowa. And that's, again, just more hard medical costs that come out of all of our pockets. But there's also increased productivity that can come from that to the tune of $5 billion. So a lot at stake for sure. So what we did was we presented this to our governor, and he quickly saw the opportunity and issued a challenge to all of us to make Iowa the healthiest state in the nation by 2016. So we have launched a privately led public initiative to do just that. We're using the Gallup Healthways Wellbeing Index as our benchmark, which measures a great span of things from your quality of life, your emotional health, your workplace environment. Do you feel engaged at your workplace? And what's interesting to note here, I don't have it up here, but in 2010, we actually started at number 19. And we have made great strides in hopefully hitting number 1 here at some point. And hopefully when the 2013 numbers come out, we'll be continuing on that trajectory. The good news is our companies do believe that wellness works. So small business and large business alike do see the value behind offering wellness programs. The trick is they don't know what to implement or how to implement it, and it needs to be cost-effective and easy for them to do it, right? Not a big surprise there. So what we are doing is strategically implementing the concepts that are outlined within the Blue Zones, which is a book by Dan Buettner. He traveled the globe and identified pockets of centenarians across the globe and identified the characteristics that each of these communities and these individuals had. So we have contracted with Healthways to implement programs around these themes in about 20 different cities within our state. In addition, we are building out a toolkit for our employers so that they can have kind of a plug-and-play program and series of events to get their folks moving on a pathway to a healthier lifestyle. Next, I want to talk about placemaking. In Iowa, we don't have either of these, and to be quite honest, we're kind of dealing with this a lot of the time. So we spend a lot of time thinking about creating a place and what gives our city its soul, so to speak. And over the last 10 years, we've done a lot of work around downtown revitalization, leveraging the fact that we're at the confluence of 2 rivers, creating public spaces, incorporating public art. We have a terrific sculpture park that is the west bookend to our downtown, thanks to a very generous family in the Des Moines area. But what I want to talk about today is actually more around our recreational and pedestrian corridors. So this is just a Google Earth shot of the Des Moines metro area. And this parcel right here is kind of in the heart of everything, and it's actually really close to my home. It's a 1,500-acre parcel that is completely underutilized. It is actually part of our water intake area for our Des Moines Water Works, but its location lends itself to so much more than that. So what we are going to do is revamp it. It looks like this right now. It's a complete blank canvas, and hopefully in 2 years it will look more like this, where you have a series of water trails and paved recreational trails that weave throughout the campus, connecting a network of trails that actually reside on either side of it. In addition, we're going to continue to build out our extensive network of trails. We have about 700 miles of paved and dedicated bike lanes throughout central Iowa, but we're going to take it one step further and make it into a network of greenways, so connecting all of our parks, riverways, trails into one enormous network. And we're going to do that thanks to a bond referendum that was actually passed in November of last year. It's a $50 million bond issuance, and it's called the Polk County Land and Water Legacy Grant. And in today's political environment, we were beyond thrilled when it passed with 72% of voter support. So that will go a long ways. And then the final piece I'm going to talk about is startups. Sorry, that should all be on one line. In today's hyper-connected world, you really can start a business anywhere. And so we've been trying to enhance that and elevate that and enable and then get out of the way as well for our entrepreneurs in the metro area. In building out our ecosystem, we do have an incubator space that is complete with 2 mentors in residence, which is Startup City. We also have a business accelerator, so taking those high potential gazelle type companies, helping them connect to resources, helping them scale. And then addressing the issue of access to capital, we just launched an investment group called Plains Angels. We launched this in June of last year, and to date we have over 100 certified investors, and we've funded 8 deals to the tune of $2 million. And coming next, we actually just launched a makerspace, and next on the radar is a bioscience and lab space incubator that we're hopefully announcing in the next couple of weeks. That's it for me. Thank you.
Hello. So a quick disclaimer. Last night, anything that I said during or after that Manhattan, I will not take any accountability for. Those weren't the opinion of Phil Cooley. That was actually some maker named Mark, so sorry about that. Quick show of hands, please. Who's ever had a bad day? All right, yeah. So yeah, I don't know where, can you guys see the slide? I can't, I don't know what's going on here. I can anyways here. So, yeah, good news. Well, shit is hectic. It's very difficult. But the good news is there's help on the way. And what we like to talk about collisions too. I know Tony did yesterday. And what we're finding is when we make innovation more diverse and more inclusive, we're finding that we can find more solutions. We stop looking through this kind of narrow lens that we consistently do, and just be more inclusive in this process. Things like this will happen. So this bag was designed by a woman named Arnetta. Arnetta works for the Empowerment Plan, and they're a company that makes coats for the homeless that become sleeping bags. It's really beautiful. It was started by a junior in college. It was a class project. Arnetta herself is homeless. That's the coolest thing about the project to me is that all homeless women, single moms are actually the people that are making these coats. Next door is the jean company. The jeans I'm wearing, they're called Detroit Denim. The gentleman who actually makes these jeans invited the women over for a kind of a little fun Project Runway thing. And this formerly homeless woman makes his top-selling bag now. And so not only is she unlocking her creativity, but she's got a job, she's supporting her family, she's doing all these wonderful things, right? And most importantly, now this for-profit guy from, this is a typical white guy from the suburbs who came down here to Detroit to work with us. He felt really comfortable because he saw that Arnetta was a human being, and all these women that he's working with are human beings. They're not subjected to being considered homeless people or black people or women or Detroiters. They're just human beings, which is really wonderful. And so ultimately now, it's really easy to say you're going to hire homeless people, but it's really difficult in practice to do. And so he's just hired two homeless veterans because he feels comfortable with the process. He's worked with these women to make every pair of his jeans. So this is a fun picture of Dan. He just about 5 minutes from now, after trying this coat on, he writes a check for $250,000 for the Empowerment Plan to support. But my point is, again, is Dan, why it says go state, he went to Michigan State, and I think oftentimes we're looking at Harvard, we're looking at Stanford, which are all great places, but the reality is there are solutions, there are innovators everywhere. And this is a quick example of what it takes to live in Detroit. So these are all the people that volunteered to work on Astro Coffee. Astro Coffee is it's just a coffee shop. It's no big deal. It's very good, but the idea is that they on their own they didn't have the resources, so their friends and family came together. The best story is the guy next door that had he was over budget and behind schedule on his project, and yet he was in volunteering doing metal work to get Astro open. So we got to think about diversity. Diversity is, of course, gender, age, race, all these things, but it's also about, you know, points in your career, you know, different skill sets, right? So at Ponyride, this project we're working on, we're inviting makers in, we're inviting tech people in, we're inviting publishers in, we're inviting artists and craftspeople in, because the idea is how these people can work together and change the world. It's not going to happen in a silo in an all-tech place and an all-manufacturing place. It happens when they're colliding together. And so when the boat maker figures out how to work with the hip-hop dance company, those are things that you and I can't come up with on our own. It's messy, and it's about failure. And so it's also about looking at things as assets versus liabilities. So this is a house that was shipped to New York, the facade, and became a part of an art installation. The rest of it was used to make a one-person homeless shelter as part of the Shrinking Cities exhibit. Again, these houses need to come down, but they don't need to be put in our landfills. They need to create jobs. So we look at deconstruction as a 6-to-1 job multiplier versus demolition. And these are things that are happening that are inclusive and are built and designed by our community. And so there's really no reason to do anything, any of this stuff, this hard work, unless we're having fun. This woman is about to have a heat stroke, actually, and she, just like everyone else, gets up the next day and goes at it again. So it's a lot of hard work, but it's beautiful work. And what we found in this park specifically, in the work that we've done there, you know, my mom would walk every day to pull weeds there, and she would grab tongs to pick up garbage on the way and fill up a garbage bag. And the more we invited the community in to participate and stop thinking that we could save the community, the easier it got. The fact that there were other people picking up garbage, pulling weeds, and it wasn't just us. We turned over ownership. This is a public park. This is a space that we needed everyone to come in and participate, to program, to design, and to build. And it's been a really wonderful model. Instead of, you know, complaining about our local government and all the failures that we're going through right now, when the citizens step up and work together, we've been able to, you know, make some major transformations. So, yeah, I guess my biggest thing is please open your doors, get out of the way, give people access to time and space. I would have never been successful without the resources that I've been given in Detroit, and I see other Detroiters and I see other people all over the world that are ready to participate and are completely capable. So when we look at that slide of Thomas Edison from the last talk, you know, I grew up in his hometown where he was thrown off the train car multiple times. There's a statue sitting next to a train, which is kind of an odd way to remember him, but you know, he failed over and over again, setting that train car on fire, trying to invent electricity, or the light bulb, excuse me. And you know, that's the idea, is that it's okay. We're going to fail miserably. We've failed on every project we've done so far, and we continue to learn from those failures. But if we don't make that affordable and inclusive, then we'll continue to, you know, have the same problems we have and have the same people participating to find solutions that just don't seem to be working to me. So thank you so much.
Okay. Is that coming up in the back? Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Erin Flynn. I am from Portland, Oregon, and I did not realize that Portland, Oregon, and Grand Rapids had so much in common. I spent a couple of hours last night walking around the city, looking at the art. It was really fabulous. What a surprise Grand Rapids is. It's really a beautiful city. But Grand Rapids claims to be the beer capital of the world. I thought we were the beer capital of the world, Joe. Grand Rapids claims to have the most green buildings per capita. I thought we had the most green buildings per capita. And I remembered yesterday that Wolverine is here, which we saw at Grid 70, and we are both footwear design capitals in the country. So that's very interesting, actually. We have more in common than I thought. I also thought I was the only Portlander here, but I want to acknowledge our mayor from Beaverton, Denny Doyle, who made the trip all the way out here, and also Joe Courtwright. So I'm glad to know we're better represented than I thought. I'm going to talk about Electric Avenue, which is a demonstration project at Portland State University. I work at Portland State University, and I am really the interface between the university and our industry and civic partners. And we are, I think, a great illustration of an anchor institution. We are a 30,000-person campus located in the heart of downtown Portland. We are an urban serving university. Our motto is let knowledge serve the city. So we are highly integrated with the city. Our students are very engaged in community-based learning, and that's really what distinguishes us from the other campuses in Oregon. And we do like to think of our university as a living laboratory for urban sustainability and urban innovation. And Electric Avenue, I think, is a great illustration of how we work with our partners to deliver on the region's highest priority economic, environmental, and social goals. So Electric Avenue is an urban showcase and testbed for electric vehicles and charging technologies. And Portland is a great place to do this because we're an early adopter city. We've been an early adopter of bikes, we've been an early adopter of urban growth boundary, of walkable cities, of transit, and we're also an early adopter of electric vehicles. So we have a significant population that's predisposed to drive electric vehicles. It's a 3-year demonstration project to examine the charging patterns and the behavior of electric vehicle drivers. Electric Avenue is located on the PSU campus, right in a downtown mobility hub, and it's a great location because there are tens of thousands of visitors every day. This is an illustration of Electric Avenue. It's a relatively small block located between 2 thoroughfares that are just 5 blocks from downtown Portland. There are 3 key partners in the project, so this really is also an illustration of the kind of public-private partnership that we just heard about. PSU, as the anchor institution and the demonstration site, managed the project. Portland General Electric is our local utility, and PGE provided free electricity. So the way Electric Avenue works is you can charge your vehicle at Electric Avenue for free, and you can park there as long as you want, as long as you're paying for the parking. So the city created the right-of-way and the signage for electric vehicle, but you still have to pay for parking, but you get free electricity. Then Portland State manages the demonstration site as well as conducts research on the site. So I'm going to show a quick video now that gives you a better sense for what it really looks like.
This is a great showcase and demonstration of what a public-private partnership can produce. The vehicles are amazing. The Leaf, the Volt, the Tesla, the Mitsubishi, the trucks, these are amazing vehicles. If you get a chance to drive them, you'll understand how good these machines are.
Infrastructure, a greener infrastructure that can support a strong economy with a smaller footprint. It takes leadership from government and industry and innovation from companies willing to take a chance on this new economy.
So these are the technology partners, and all of the electric charging infrastructure was donated to the site. Great publicity for the charging manufacturers, and also they were really also able to understand how these early adopters are utilizing the technology, so it was advantageous to them to be a part of Electric Avenue. We launched a full-scale communication campaign, which was really quite successful. We have an Electric Avenue website if you want more information, a Facebook site, and we really encouraged folks who were parking at Electric Avenue to tell their stories and let us know why they were there, how they were using the site. We got pretty incredible media coverage of Electric Avenue when we launched 2 years ago. And I think what's most important is that over the 2 years that the site has been in place, it's been used as a new product launch site by Nissan, Ford, Mitsubishi, and GM. It's really put Portland on the map as an innovator in the electric vehicle space, and the state has actually created an organization called Drive Oregon, funded at about $2 million, to really understand the opportunity that Portland has in the electrical vehicle space from an economic development perspective. And then I just want to end with a fun video. It'll be very quick, from the launch day of Electric Avenue, excuse me.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, plug. Hey.
Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh no, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh, out in the street, out in the street, out in the daytime, out in the night.
All right, thank you very much.
How do I follow that? I'm Karen Gahl-Mills from Cleveland. My apologies for the Harvey Fierstein vocal impersonation today. And we're gonna have some slides here in just a second, I suspect. I don't know about you, but as I've been reflecting on everything that I've heard and seen this week, the celebration of imagination that is Art Prize, I'm reminded of the words of the urbanist Jane Jacobs, and this is the only slide I'm going to read, I promise. Designing a dream city is easy, but rebuilding a living one takes imagination. We are all in the thick of this rebuilding process, aren't we? Which involves opportunities and challenges of all sorts. And I bet your challenges look much like Cleveland's challenges. Let's do it like that, there we go. We want to see crime. We want to see public and private investment go up. And especially for those of us in Midwest legacy cities, we want to see our population stabilize or maybe even grow, right? So for the next couple of minutes, there's my arrows. Let me give you some examples of how arts and culture in Cleveland are really functioning as a key community development tool and helping us address those challenges. I've picked 3 lesser-known examples, fresher examples from our community, but they represent countless more, and there are lots of us here from Cleveland, and I hope you will grab members of the delegation today and ask them about what's going on and come visit us over the course of the next couple of months. So here's the first one. A great museum partners with a pair of philanthropists and art collectors to turn an unused electrical station into a neighborhood gallery and urban art center. Together with entrepreneurs and with engaged neighbors, they transform a block. And the result, according to the chief of police, crime's down 34% in this neighborhood year over year. You heard us say earlier that art saves lives. Art fights crime. Look at that. This is the neighborhood of Detroit Shoreway, and here a community development corporation partnered with a design and public art provider to really transform a pedestrian corridor from this unsafe eyesore to a welcoming and fun connector to the lakefront. But now, according to Cranes, a for-profit developer is investing $10 million to create market-rate apartments in a former tool and die factory next to this structure. And he cites the improved lake access as a key factor in his decision to move forward. And there's a great emerging neighborhood in Cleveland, Collinwood, on the North Shore, that is investing in artists, and the artists are investing in the neighborhood through a groundbreaking program called Artists in Residence. and it's resulting to people returning to Cleveland, vacant buildings being reclaimed, and the Kresge Foundation just committed $1 million to the project. We got crime going down, we got public and private investment going up, we have population returning. That's Cleveland. What do these examples have in common? If you go back to my Jane Jacobs where we started, they are all examples of the imagination of the arts and cultural community harnessed to address these key community issues and provoke positive change in Cleveland. This is how Cleveland is applying its imagination to rebuilding a living city. A city where we make things like steel and cars and now medical devices. A city with long-suffering sports fans. Go Tribe. Okay, thank you. And a city where arts and culture has been a key component of the landscape for more than 100 years. And while the arts didn't single-handedly do any of this, they were one of the community development tools that made these successes possible. And the public money invested by our agency helped a little too, perhaps an example of that assist leadership that we heard about yesterday. So where does public money fit into all of this? Well, I submit that the existence of our agency, Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, and of a dedicated tax for arts and culture in our county is an expression of the public's imagination. Cleveland has long benefited from terrific philanthropic partners, from the early philanthropists to our present-day tremendous foundations, but it didn't benefit from any real public support for the arts until 2006, when we passed by the popular vote a tax levy. We taxed cigarettes at 30 cents a pack. It generates $15 million a year, and the only thing we can do with it is invest it in arts and culture. And so with this tax money to invest, we represent the imagination of ordinary residents. Residents who want good jobs, solid schools, high quality of life, all that great stuff that the arts does. But if you've tuned out because you say, I don't have that in my community, here's the real point of the money. The money may provide a remarkable opportunity for our community, but the catalytic idea isn't the money itself. It's how our grant making encourages collaboration and connection between the arts community and the public at large. Our grants come with one big string attached. You have to show how you will use the money to benefit the public. And this emphasis encourages the arts and cultural sector to recognize its role as a critical component of the reimagination of our city and of our region. We played just a small role in the examples that I cited earlier, but public investment at any level brings the public into the conversation in an important way, and anybody can do that in their community. So let me end by bringing this to life with a little example of what public money can do to help change a city. It's something we did. This past winter, we piloted a program. We stole the idea blatantly from our friends at the Night Arts Challenge. It was an experiment in activating cultural assets for the community's benefit, and it was built on two key ideas: collaboration and transformative community benefit. Winning projects would get grants of up to $150,000 from us, but they were required to bring matching money to the table, as we heard about yesterday from Michael Kaiser. The public also got to choose the winners, which was terrific and very fitting for a tax resource. Land Studio in Cleveland was one of the winners, and we have a short video clip from them that has audio. Let's see how our public investment sparked their imagination and in turn sparked some community change.
Sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest spark. Aha! An idea is born. This spark brings people together, and when people start coming together, we start making change. So, what does a city look like when people truly come together? Places come to life. What's dark becomes light. AHA is a spotlight on Cleveland. It is about bringing life and light back to our city.
This is what imagination looks like in Cleveland. What does it look like in your community? Come visit ours. We'd be glad to show you. Thank you.
Good morning. We're going to start with a short 11-minute sound film clip. Not really, Lee.
Sorry. Waiting on a video clip. Does this count against our time? Nothing happening here.
Houston.
Oh, there we go. Oh, shoot. Okay. Sound, please. And nobody's seeing it, so I'm going to start it over. All right, let's start here. Tim Maloney and Dan Reynolds. So we're going to start with a video.
The word collision has been kind of an underlying theme to this whole conference, and this project is a perfect example of multiple collisions which were both favorable and very much intentional as we layered other levels of connectivity on this project. It really started with our interest in public art and our infatuation with this video mapping technology. We were looking at a temporary public art installation. At the same time, we were launching a new conductor for our world-class Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra and Louis Longré. And we wanted to do that in something other than a black tie gala and get some involvement on the ground. We also, in this project, are celebrating our urban renaissance and the renovation of this important Washington Park, which 2 years ago, you would never have thought of walking through it in broad daylight. We also had the opportunity with this project to literally illuminate one of our Cincinnati icons, Music Hall, which is in need of $100 million in renovation money. And this helped us start building a campaign and a public conversation about how we get to that goal. And finally, it played well into our work as a foundation with audience development and developing a new patron experience, and to bring down that $75 age patron of our classical arts and make it a interesting experience for new patrons.
So how did we do it? And it was great because it's been a lot of fun to hear everyone talking about collision and community and how that works together. It was not even a year ago when I got a call from Tim Maloney, who said that I heard you're the guy in town to call for projection mapping, and we want to do this project. And I knew I could do that. I knew we could build a brand, and I knew we could do a projection mapping that would woo people. What I didn't know is that I'd be involved in touching a community of 35,000 people who came to see the event and now are just chomping at the bit to do something more and to be more involved in a city. And that's not something I was counting on doing and being a part of. But anyway, so how did we start? We had to build a brand. We knew that if we were going to go to the trouble of doing this rather very expensive art installation, we would want it to be something enduring and lasting. So we worked very closely with the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra and the Haile Foundation to create a brand called Luminosity. It was a name that we went around. We did everything from the naming, and then every single touch point we designed in a way that it could live on for years and show up in other ways. We created a whole graphic language around the program that would celebrate the idea of light and the city and shining a light on the community, played with light in interesting and unique ways and creative ways to constantly be a reminder as an element for our program that could show up again and again. We designed every single touch point, and some of them you'll see here. You're looking at one of the touch points we're showing here is an app that was developed, but we weren't able to get that one off the ground for 2013, but now we've also laid the groundwork for doing that for 2014 and moving forward. So we were way ahead of ourselves in thinking how we were going to do this. And then right around the same time, it wasn't do one and then the other. We also had to build this world-class projection mapping show. And so we worked very closely, again, with the CSO. They were a dream client. They were audio artists, and they were working with visual artists. My team and Tim's team working together to create this show. I went to Paris and I met with Louis Lungray. We talked about these 5 pieces of classical music that we were going to work with. And I had a team of 6 designers that kind of took this music into their hearts and had to really ingest it and then figure out a visual expression for that. The results were a city transformed. Tim's going to talk a little bit about the results of the thing. We had 35,000 people show up. The venue where this took place, the park, is designed to hold 7,000 to 8,000 at a time. We blew that out of the water both nights.
It was our best expectation to have maybe 15,000 over the weekend. Well, we had a little dress rehearsal on Friday night, and we had, I think, 3,000. Saturday, we had 15,000. Sunday, we had over 20,000. With very little print media, this is all attributable to the power of social media. And now that I'm in the 1-minute stretch, I will tell you that we've had 1,848 Instagram posts during the course of this event. That averages followers per user of about 200, with total Instagram reach exceeding 370,000. A quick survey of folks in our city felt pride in the city, 98%. Want to return to the Over the Rhine, 98%. We'll be talking about luminosity, 97%. Felt safe walking around, 95%. Felt connected to others in the audience, 85%. I will only tell you that this was a perfect alignment with divine intervention, because August in Cincinnati can be quite unpleasant. And we are blessed with 3 70-degree days, and I was so worried about rain, but we didn't have one drop of rain. So it was fun, it was experimental, and we colored outside the lines, and we are just beyond thrilled with our results.
The way it touched the community was the biggest surprise for me, as I mentioned before. The things that there were 20,000 people standing in planting beds and on top of parking structures. There were not enough bathrooms, and yet the things that we heard at the end of it were, it was glowing, it was magical, it was transformative, and it was a new level for our city that we had never reached before. So there's a final quote. I just wanted to end with this. It was a tour de force of Cincinnati's creative community and a way to bring thousands into the inner city, now undergoing a revitalization. It felt like a tipping point. And so there we go.
Is it on? All right. Welcome to Grand Rapids. Who came out and raised their hand? They're not there. It's like, where's Waldo? What I am part of is a group who is trying to transform the river and seek them out, restore them, and bring the rapids back to the Grand. The city was established right on these banks, and in this area, it has a very unique draw where there is a big gradient drop right through the urban core. And so the rapids used to be grand, and they used to be there. And so we've been using engineering and creativity to try to bring a force to restore the rapids. They were initially set up for industry. So Grand Rapids is a furniture city. It also had a lot of logging operations in its infancy. And so the logs would come down the rivers, and they had to spill them into canals, and they would go to the sawmills. And so they put in a dam in order to prevent the logs to jam up on the bedrock. And so followed beyond that, they put in more logs, or more dams, and then beyond that, they decided to try to make it more navigable. So they literally took the rapids out of the ground. They took every boulder, every stone, and right now the bottom of the river is about as flat as this floor. So it shows at least an effort to maintain navigability all the way from Lake Michigan up to Grand Rapids, which has always been a quest. And they really tried to create kind of an unnatural environment. So how long have they been wondering where the rapids went? This is an article from a 1913 Grand Rapids Progress, and it states why are we called Grand Rapids? So it's been quite some time that we haven't had rapids. Sturgeon is another thing that the city is known for, and they used to essentially mill them out of the water and use them to operate the steamships. But our goal is to take the downtown core. So on the right side of the image, you see where we are. It's the downtown area. On the left side, so the right side is the whole reach of what we're trying to restore. From Ann Street at the top of the map to Fulton Street. Maybe you've walked around during Art Prize. There is about 18 feet of drop in that section. So it literally, when you look out the window, you can see that whole section. 18 feet of drop. From Fulton Street all the way to Lake Michigan, there is only 4 feet of drop. So it's pretty a unique geographical feature to have that kind of drop in Grand Rapids. So what we're trying to do is create a sense of place, really bring recreation back to this city, bring the namesake back to the city, and really embrace all of the things that Grand Rapids is known for. This is an event, LAV raft race, and it's an idea of a city trying to use the river in a way that it's really dangerous. So how do we create the same process but with an awesome river? Right now, we're a great rowing destination. We have a world-class rowing destination upstream of downtown. We want to make it better in our project, so we're trying to accomplish ways to make that better. We have a great fishery. How do we make that better? And we want to increase navigation. The dams that are put in, they're very deadly. They're dangerous, so people have accidents every year in those dams. So make it navigable. And the hope is also, if you can fix the bottom, you can play on top. So kayaking, here's another shot of what you might see. The reality is that 9 out of 10 people will never get wet. So how do you look out windows like this in a view and look at these great rivers? So what will it look like? Here's a photo of our convention center. By the way, it's shaped like a wave in a rapids that we don't have. So we'd really like to bring the namesake back. This is what it might look like. So gives you an idea of a really activated river, and then really bringing back how do we engage the community and really take our business partners, our city partners, and really re-envision the whole river corridor. So Grand Rapids Whitewater, and appreciate it. And next time you come, hopefully you'll be able to find the rapids.
All right, good morning. Ooh, it's on, fabulous. My name is Jessica, and I have the pleasure of being round speaker this morning. And I've really enjoyed the focus of this whole conference on collaboration as well as intersection, right? The intersection of art, design, talent, place. Well, in my day job, I do transportation policy in Silicon Valley. So when I think of intersection, this, unfortunately, is the image that frequently comes to mind. Now, the biggest issue facing the transportation industry is how to wean ourselves off of our dependence on autos and oil, both for our personal health as well as for the health of the planet. But the issue is, in our area and in many areas throughout the country, we've just made our cities for cars, not for people. How many people want to walk to that light rail station here? Or how about biking here? So I try it pretty frequently, and it's really unpleasant. So the good news is art to the rescue. We've heard this morning that art is saving our lives, reducing crime, increasing investment. Well, I'm here to tell you, art is also going to help avert climate change and get us moving, get us healthy again. It's where my day job in the transportation side intersects with my community involvement on the San Jose Arts Commission, because I get to see all of the amazing and creative ways that people are harnessing the arts to make our transportation system more human. How's that? So adding form to function, providing a sense of place, giving us new ways to connect to each other as well as to the environment in different places, and to express ourselves. One example, adding form to function. This was the original design for a new bus rapid transit station. These stations are to be placed throughout San Jose, and they're highly functional. Unfortunately, as one San Jose City Council member put it, the original design was pretty Mickey Mouse, and it outright clashed with the historic neighborhoods that it was slated to go through. So art to the rescue. This is the conceptual plan after the Office of Cultural Affairs in San Jose brought in merge conceptual design to rethink what these stations should be like. And while these unique elements are going to be different within each neighborhood based on that neighborhood's past and history, you see that the overall plan is one to make these a human place where people can actually enjoy themselves, both the transit riders and the passersby. Now, another way in which we're creating places through art is some of the planning that's gone around making transportation assets, again, much more human. I'm going to talk in particular about this Diridon Station area to the west of downtown San Jose. Now, this has already the biggest arena for the region. That's a planned, not yet existent, baseball stadium should the Baseball Commission ever allow that to happen with the currently Oakland A's. But it's also the biggest transportation station in the area. Right now, it has commuter rail, light rail, buses, et cetera. It's still pretty small scale, but it's slated for an electrified commuter station. The Bay Area Rapid Transit District is coming to San Jose and will have a station here, and California High-Speed Rail will also be here. So this is the full network of the transportation that's anticipated, as well as the development that's planned around it. Thankfully, public artists have been involved in this process for designing this new neighborhood and new station since the very inception, because they understand that unless they do, this will not be a memorable place where people want to be and people want to spend time. So back to this picture for just a little bit of context, because you'll notice that downtown San Jose here to the east of the freeway is a pretty spread out place. It's a hard one to connect in. It's a hard one to find your way in naturally. And so one of the biggest challenges is actually navigating from the downtown to the Diridon Station area and back and forth because of this big freeway, and actually there's a river hidden underneath that too. You never know. So this was an early and temporary attempt to use art to make these connections better. And this is a permanent one that's being installed very soon. Now, this project is part of a three-pronged effort to illuminate downtown. So the first prong here is these gateways. The second is beacons. This one is atop the Adobe headquarters in downtown. And then the final is a wayfinding system. Now, this one is currently under development by this team, Anti-Vice. It's a French team. They're doing some of the projections that we can only hope will be as amazing as we just saw in Luminosity. But their biggest challenge is a new one of allowing people to interact with each other and with the environment while finding their way in a pretty difficult city to navigate on foot and on bike. So speaking of bikes, final example is the ways in which art is allowing us to express ourselves while transporting ourselves in different ways. This is San Jose Bike Party. It's a homegrown monthly celebration of people reclaiming streets on their bikes. It's decidedly artsy and creative. This is not a spandex-laden affair. And it's really embraced the artisan as well, and even spawned a small-scale bike industry. So this bike art industry, I should have said, has actually infiltrated the gallery scene. It can be seen in public art throughout California at this point, and also in our major museums. So in sum, art is giving us new ways to enjoy our journeys, and in doing so, it's helping us to remake a suburban, auto-oriented culture into one that really embraces urban mobility. Thank you.